Wewe pia? Hivi Pili alikuwa yazungumzia ukweli?
Ule. Uoni?
Na anafanya nini pale na Patel?
Hata mimi nashangaa.
Tusherekee kwa kuja kwa Sitara. My daughter. My daughter.
You've just made it on time for the Big Mind Show. The way I balance school and skating is, well, Monday to Friday I go to school, and Saturday to Sunday I go to skating. My other talent is dancing, modeling. I also play ice hockey and roller hockey.
And today we are reading the book Senzo and the Sun.
Snakes let slow on a sunny sun.
And today I'm going to show you how to make stuffed tazia.
Uwe nayo kila hali, nipo wende masomoni. Mwanafunzi wa shuleni, onyesha adabu yako.
Hayawi huwa. Once again tumefikia Thursday, Entertainment Thursday, where we say every Thursday is the new Friday right here on Good Morning Kenya. Unajua sasa mpango leo ni entertainment, starting your morning in a way that is, well, in an easy manner. As you ease into the day, at least you'll be elevated, your feel good will be elevated right here on Good Morning Kenya Entertainment Thursday. My name is Mike Migwe, being the 21st of May 2026. Unatutizama ukiwa pande gani ya nchi? A lot has been prepared for you just to make sure that your Thursday is as easy as it can get. That whole team is in the building. Eve.
Good morning.
Wewe ni wa Arsenal ama ni wa Man U?
Mimi ni wa timu inashinda. So leo tunaenda na Arsenal. Hapa loyalty ni ya wenye wanashinda.
Acha nisikie DJ Unique. Team ni moja na ni gani?
Timu ni Jamo.
Na ni gani?
The Red Devils. Hizi zingine sijui. Hizi ni kazi na tunatuescort tu.
Uko sure si eti unasikia vibaya juu
Arsenal walishinda? Tuko namba 3 bwana.
Watu wako na mauchungu huko nje.
Timu ni Manchester United. Hizo zingine zinajaribu.
Wow.
Hizo zingine ni kujaribu tu.
Wow.
Hiyo story hata tuachie tu hapa by the way.
At the great Manchester United.
The great Manchester United.
You know, sometimes, you know what gives me, sometimes naangalia kama fans of ball venye uanga wana argue. Sijui timu yetu iko hivi, yenu iko hivi, sijui tumenunua nani. Like the emotions are way high, and I think that's why football is loved.
Yeah, we love it.
That's why football is loved. And speaking of that aspect of loving football, what we love doing here every Thursday morning is to make sure that your morning is as exciting as it gets. Eve.
Yes.
Ni nini umetuandalia leo?
Leo nimewaandalia a lot of good things. We have 2 authors coming through today, and we also have Miss Earth coming through today, just to teach you how to be environmentally friendly when it comes to your clothing. Yeah.
Very important. DJ,
yes.
Anything new?
Muziki mpya always.
Kama hujaisikia hapa?
Bado iko studio. But today there's I introduced this month that I'll be supporting new artists. Today I have 3 artists that I'm going to support today.
Yes.
Who have released songs. The first one is Ruth Mijere, akona song inaitwa ni Kujue. Alafu Silas Mwenda, he has a new song also inaitwa Subiri. Alafu Nida Music also he has a new song inaitwa Shuka.
Yes.
Then the Uko Flani. Remember Uko Flani? They have a new song.
Uko Flani Daniel Lapna Mizani.
No, you sasa. They have a new song called Ramani. So I'll be sampling them. So I have great music lined up for you. So keep it locked.
That is very important. Yeah. Give us one.
Yeah.
Hebu tupeleke na news kabla
turudi sasa. Hao watu wako Flani, how old are they now?
Niliwasikia nikiwa class 2. but their songs are good.
Kwanza hiyo ya uko fulani
they're dope.
It's timeless.
Actually, you need to listen to the new one.
Wamerudi 2 decades later kama Arsenal.
Giverson Butu beleke kwa Disney.
Sawa Dao. And my name is Giverson Maina, and now let's dive into the world of news for a moment. Now, a section of civil society organizations has raised concerns on the increased cases of femicide and violence against women and girls in the country, calling on immediate government intervention. The lobby group, led by the Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, are now demanding that the government declare the gender-based violence, including femicide, a national disaster. They further called on the government to provide a status report on the implementation of the recommendations proposed by the Presidential Task Force led by Dr. Nancy Baraza, especially those focused on ending GBV and femicide. They also urged President William Ruto to establish and operationalize a GBV fund to support survivors.
Femicide and violence against women and girls in Kenya has reached a crisis level and requires immediate action from the national and from national interventions. We cannot stand by and watch as women and girls continue to suffer such violence. We are deeply troubled by the daily reports of women being killed in very horrific ways in our country. Some have been assaulted, some have been murdered, some attacked with corrosive chemicals, others dismembered, and some bodies discarded without dignity.
Reports from Amnesty Kenya International, that is in April 2026, show that at least 8 femicide cases are reported each week. This means that about 1 woman or girl is killed every day.
The Constitution of Kenya 2010 guarantees the right to life, equality, freedom from the discrimination, dignity, personal security, and access to justice. Even though there are strong laws like the Sexual Offences Act of 2006, the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act of 2015, these laws are not being enforced well.
Our demands for the next 40 days: 1, declare gender-based violence, including femicide, a national crisis. In this, we call on President to declare GBV, including femicide, a national crisis and give it an urgent attention it deserves.
Kenya and Kazakhstan have signed 8 bilateral agreements aimed at deepening diplomatic and economic cooperation between the two nations. The deals were signed during President William Ruto's state visit to Kazakhstan Wednesday, where he held talks with his host President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev at the Palace of Independence in Astana.
President William Ruto, who has been on official state visits in the wider Eurasia region, on Wednesday visited Kazakhstan. During his tour of the Central Asian nation, President Ruto and his host, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, termed partnerships between the two nations as mutually beneficial. Kenya as Kazakhstan's gateway to East and Central Africa, while Kazakhstan opens way for Kenya to Central Asia and the wider Eurasian region.
And has invited Kazakhstan to establish Nairobi as a strategic base for its operations on the continent while utilizing the ports of Mombasa and Lamu.
We also discussed the issue of delivering Kenyan products to Eurasian countries via Kazakhstan.
The two leaders witnessed the signing of bilateral deals in ICT and e-government services, agriculture, transport and infrastructure, finance, tourism, climate action, mining, and exploration and space technology.
We agreed to continue advocating for climate justice, fair access to climate financing, and reforms to the international financial architecture so that developing countries like Kenya can access financing on fair.
During the visit, President Ruto was awarded Kazakhstan's prestigious Order of Dostik, meaning Friendship First Degree, in recognition of his efforts to strengthen relations between the two countries. Later, President Ruto toured the Kazakhstan Space Center, the Alem AI Center, and attended a business forum at the Astana International Financial Center.
Beyond maritime routes, we should bridge distances through aviation. Kazakhstan's open skies policy creates excellent incentives for global careers.
When you mentioned to me earlier that you buy most of your flowers from Amsterdam in Netherlands, I told you those flowers actually come from Kenya. And we see a bigger opportunity by establishing direct connectivity between Astana and Nairobi.
Kenya and Kazakhstan have had diplomatic economic relations dating back to 1993. In his Eurasian tour, President Ruto also visited Azerbaijan.
Now, following the one-week suspension of the public service vehicle strike over fuel price increase, the Nairobi Central Business District is back in its usual buzz. Now, the temporary truce between government and the public transport sector players has relieved Kenyan business owners, drivers and commuters alike, despite the adjustments made to cope with the reality.
Nairobi Central Business District. For 2 days, these public vehicle termini were deserted, leaving commuters stranded. On Wednesday, the engines are fired up and public service vehicles are once again filled with passengers. Public transport operators aim to recover losses incurred.
Before mafuta ipande, sikuwa nakosa 1,500, 1,000. Sai ni bahati tu nikipata 200 na shukuru.
Hizo siku mbili ambazo zimepita, imagine hata kukula imekuwa ni shida, because nikikuja kazi ndio napata riski, lakini nisipokuja basi inakuwa shida.
A section of operators have hiked fares by at least 50 shillings, while the others are bearing the cost of the fuel price hike.
Abiria wako lakini bado wanalia tu, wengine watembea mguu, wale watu tunabeba wachache ndio tunabeba tu.
Unapata unaenda distance refu sana na ni ile tu fare. So mgomo haijatusaidia pale popote ile.
Clients wamenipotoka wengi sana. Kwa hizo siku mbili, unajua hasa kama si kwa hizo siku mbili, unajua kuna watu tena wa stima. Sasa ndo unajua au pia wanakuja kutunyakua bado.
The repercussions of the recent changes in fuel prices have hit more than the transport sector.
Kama duka hii tumesimama mbele yake, inakuwa na wateja wengi sana, lakini hata saizi ukiangalia hata kuna customer mmoja anapatikana hapa ndani.
Hatujaweza hit the target ya kulipa hiyo rent. Pia wakazi wetu hatujaweza kuwalipa, bado tutawalipa na bado watatukuwa kazi.
Tutagoja hiyo wiki moja walisema ama siku 7. Kama watasikizana ni sawa, kama watasikizana tutajua vile kutaenda.
As the days count down to the ultimatum issued by the PSV and other transport operators, the stakes remain high.
Now, 8 more suspected Ebola deaths have been reported in the last 24 hours, increasing the fatalities to 139. According to World Health Organization, 600 suspected cases have also been recorded. WHO Chief Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus on Wednesday said 51 cases have been confirmed in the Democratic Republic of Congo and 2 in Uganda.
Speaking to journalists in Geneva, World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the 51 cases confirmed in Democratic Republic of Congo are in its eastern Ituri province, the epicenter of the outbreak, and the North Kivu province. Of the 2 cases confirmed in Uganda's capital, Kampala, 1 has succumbed. The first known case of the new Bundibugyo Ebola strain was a nurse who developed symptoms, among them fever, muscle pain, fatigue, headache, and sore throat and died on April 24, 2026 in Ituri's provisional capital, Bunia. 4 areas in Ituri, among them Mongwalu, Bunia, Ruampara and Nyakunde, have been affected by the outbreak. Health experts say there's no approved vaccine for the current strain, but experimental ones are in development. Kenya has heightened surveillance and screening at Busia one-stop border post and deployed a team of medics to screen travelers from the Great Lakes region.
Now, newly sworn-in National Cohesion and Integration Commission Chairperson Bishop Dr. Kefa Nyamweya Omoy has pledged to serve Kenyans with integrity, courage and impartiality as the country navigates a heightened political period. Now, Bishop Dr. Omoy spoke Tuesday when he and 6 members of the commission took oath of office, noted that Kenya still bears scars of ethnic and political division, and that national cohesion should be the norm and not guided by political seasons.
At the Supreme Court, the new chair at the helm of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission took oath of office alongside 7 commissioners.
I, Kefa.
One after the other, the commissioners pledged to serve without fear, favour or prejudice. In his maiden speech, Chairperson Dr. Kefa Omoy acknowledged the heightened political period, saying that now more than ever, national cohesion is critical.
When a citizen is attacked because of perceived political association, when a political leader is assaulted by organized groups, when communities are profiled, when public speech becomes reckless, these are not isolated matters. These are early warning signs that must be confronted.
Bishop Dr. Omoy further calling on Parliament to fast-track the enactment of the NCIC Act in a bid to strengthen the Commission's mandate.
We will do our best to unite the country at the national, county and grassroots levels for sustainable peace.
Chief Justice Martha Koome urged the Commission to hit the ground running and address rising political tensions and concerns over ethnic division ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Our diversity must never again become a source of violence. Our diversity should never become a source of exclusion or a source of division.
To my fellow leaders, let us speak not to inflame, but to inspire. To our youth, let your energy be the engine of peace, not the weapon of division.
The other commissioners are Josephine Kirion, Joseph Nguyo, Jackson Swadi, Samuel Moshiro, Irene Chipisho, Hassan Bilo and Jerusalem Wadime. The Kenya Law Reforms Commission also had its new commissioners, Mutula Kilonze Jr. and Annette Wangia, take oath of office at the same venue.
Climate control of excesses of we the political folk, climate control and constitutional protection, so that where there are any violations, we say it as it is.
Both NCIC and KLRC commissioners will serve for 6 years.
Now, hospitals will be required to calibrate their measuring equipment as the Kenya Bureau of Standards steps up its surveillance on medical gear. Now, Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Esther Ngari says rising cases of misdiagnosis can be partly attributed to faulty equipment, hence plans for mandatory calibration.
A report by the Kenya National Union of Medical Laboratory Officers indicates that 3 out of 10 people seeking medical attention are misdiagnosed, with documented cases averaging 2,400 annually. The Kenya Bureau of Standards say the high numbers are due to faulty medical equipment. Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Esther Ngari says a handful of medical facilities have the measurement certification, with the majority yet to calibrate their medical equipment.
We want to make sure that for protection of the consumers, that the equipment which are used in our hospitals, it becomes a requirement that every medical facility calibrates its equipment.
The standards body is rolling out a public sensitization as it steps up surveillance efforts.
You are tested for temperature, and you are told you have fever, and yet it is the machine that has been used, the equipment that has been used to check your body temperature that is not calibrated, and therefore it gives the wrong readings.
If you are sick, a doctor will come to you. First, he'll measure your pressure and will measure your temperature. There's some pressure, if you go beyond, you can't survive. So whatever is measuring that pressure, it must be well calibrated.
They were speaking during the celebration of Meteorology Day, where traders and investors were encouraged to invest in quality and modern measuring equipment to conform with international standards.
For our products to find market out there, for our product to be accepted by other jurisdictions, we must enforce and ensure standards.
Now let's get sporty for a moment. The Kenya Lionesses head coach Simon Odongo has named a formidable squad ahead of the 2026 Rugby Africa Cup performance division set to start this Saturday at the RFUA grounds. The one-week tournament will feature host Kenya, defending champions South Africa, Uganda and Madagascar, who are expected in the country by tomorrow.
The squad will be co-captained by Natasha Emali and Judith Auma as the Lionesses seek to go one better after finishing second in the previous edition.
Training started earlier this year. That means we had a lot of time to build and gel as a team.
Another chance for us to fly the flag high for Kenya, and we'll be hosting the rest of Africa here. South Africa coming, who are the defending champions, our neighbors Uganda and Madagascar. So it has been a competitive period. We started preparations 4 months ago.
The forwards will be led by experienced Sheila Chajira, Naomi Amunguni, Naito Tuoma, Naomi Muhaji will be joined by, among others, Jen Chanya, Jacinta Musukari, Sheila Wekesa, Valentine Otieno and Nelly Chikobe. The backs named in the squad also have wealth experience, led by top try scorer Janet Okello, backed by Judith Auma, Edith Nariaka, Maureen Moritu, Faith Livoy, Janet Okello, Sinaida Mokaya, Stella Wafula, and the reliable Freshia Odwor, with the youngsters Yvette Okage also back from injury.
We are well prepared. We are just from the camp yesterday, and I think we are very ready to the task ahead of us.
We tried our best to enable them to start training early because we know preparations and just them being able to gel as a team is very important in their performance.
Kenya will open its campaign against Uganda on Saturday, 23rd of May, before facing Madagascar 4 days later. They will face defending champion South Africa on the 31st of May.
And now finally, Aston Villa has won the UEFA Europa League title after defeating a German side, SC Freiburg, 3-0 in a match that was played in Istanbul, and the match took place at Besiktas Park. The historic victory ended the club's 30-year major trophy drought and marked their first continental title in 44 years. And now that's where we end on his coverage for now. But the show continues on the other side with Mike and Eve. But before that, we take a very short commercial break.
Welcome back to Semana Sports.
Semana Spokes is the platform where Wananchi engage, query the government, and the government responds. It's your time to be informed. Don't miss Bonga na Gava every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Semana Sports.
Kila mwisho wa juma kwenye runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1.
Tunakuletea Mkulima.
Ni kipindi cha kila mtu.
Iwe wewe ni mkulima mdogo,
mkulima mkubwa, muuzaji au mnunuzi,
au yeyote anayenuia kuanzisha kilimo ama ufugaji. Tazama Mkulima kila Jumamosi saa 10:30,
ambapo kilimo na fursa zinapatikana.
Waswahili siku zote wasema fumbo mfumbie mjinga, mwerevu atalifumbua.
Wewe, hata ukiniangalia ni wewe ninaambia. Wanaume wa siku hizi wabadilika kama nguo, wabadilika kama viatu, kama ufagio umezeeka.
Utapata kama venye teknolojia saa hii imesambaa kila mahali. Utapata vijana baada ya kuingia kwenye simu zao wanaenda kwa hizo simu zao, na kuna filamu huko hadi zenye hazivutii.
Maajabu na miujiza. Funika kombe,
Mwana apotee.
Mwana apotee. Tazamaji, funika kombe, mwana haramu apite. Nina ngozi, mayai yana nini?
Kikwada ama ugwada.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe. Time now for Future Voices, and today I want us to take a different direction. Now, we are going to talk about matters that pertain to education. How can we educate the next generation? But then again, we need to address the education gender disparities that are there. Now, according to a survey carried out by Usawa Gender, as a country, when you look at the girl child, they are still struggling to access quality education as opposed to their male counterparts. And then again, when you look at it, the report reveals that there are, in as far as we have more girls joining secondary schools, they still grapple with some challenges when it comes to inadequate infrastructure, matters of leadership, staffing, sanitation, and so many more challenges within their schools. So when you look at those findings, they do underscore the need for targeted policies that address these issues, especially when it comes to structural biases and the idea to improve an inclusive infrastructure. So that is how the direction of this conversation is going to go. And for that, I'm joined by Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, who is the Executive Director, Usawa Agenda. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And also Claudia Lagat, who is a Policy Engagement at Usawa Agenda. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having us.
Karibu sana. Let's get into this conversation right away. The Usawa Agenda 2026 report, and I'll start with you, Daktari. It brings out complex issues, complex realities, beyond what anyone would say is a girl child versus boy child narrative. Are we seeing a shift and in how there are overlapping inequalities in education that affect boys differently than they affect girls when we talk about access to education, the quality of education, and even the school environment?
Thank you for having us, Mike. You know, the issues of gender equality in education are complex. They're not straightforward the way sometimes numbers tend to portray them. For instance, if you look at enrollment at the primary school level, we have more girls enrolled in school than boys. That is now the reality. When you look at performance, again, in learning outcomes at the primary school level, again, we have girls outperforming boys.
Yes.
But that is not the most important aspect. The most important aspect of education is what do we then finally get out of education? And when we start to look at what do we get out of education, which means what do we have at higher levels of education as we go through, you start to see that there are disparities at higher levels. Disparities in the sense that girls do not have as good environment to learn in compared to boys at secondary school level, in the sense that you start to find that boys' schools are better equipped. Boys' schools, boys have more role models at those higher levels in terms of more teachers being male as you go up the ladder. When you're in primary school, majority of the teachers are actually female, up to 58%. As you go to junior school, that percentage falls to 51%. And when you're in secondary school, senior school now, that percentage goes down to 43%. So it tells you that the outcome of education starts to shift in favor of the boy child again at much higher levels.
Claudia, if we are seeing both higher female enrollment and rising male disengagement when it comes to education, what does this mean for the current education policy design in the country right now?
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for that particular question. Because as is our agenda, we believe that we envision an education system that is just. That means all the children get into the education system regardless of their background, and education becomes an equalizer where all the children benefit from quality education, where regardless of the background you're coming from or within the nature of disability, the education system is able to accord you that quality education for you to thrive in life. There is the education's gender policy, which highlights a number of things in terms of gender-related issues, in terms of considering access to both genders, in terms of school leadership, ensuring that there's gender parity in that front, and also in terms of having equitable resources. So the essence of having data like from the gender report by Usawa Agenda is to actually show where the gaps are and what needs urgent intervention. In the country, we've made a lot of progress in investing in education, but data continue to show that there are areas that need to be prioritized so that all the children get quality education. As Emmanuel has already alluded to the gaps that are there between boys and girls' schools.
Because, Dr. now girls account for about 55% of secondary school enrollment compared to 45% of boys. On the surface, this kind of suggests progress. But then again, how should we correctly interpret this data?
So when you look at enrollment numbers, first of all, you need to appreciate that in the population of called Kenya, there is still a slightly higher percentage of the female gender compared to the male. When you go through primary school levels, again you see if you factor in margins of error, the enrollment could be at par. The same as the secondary school. When you start to look at the performance in terms of the results that we get out of the school, you see better performance for girls in primary. You start to see better performance for boys in secondary school. And we start to ask the question, the country, for instance, is moving towards STEM right now as a policy. You look at the gender of the STEM teachers and you see that majority of them are male. What does that start to tell the girl child as they move up the ladder? That STEM is actually for men. And actually in some of the schools, teachers will tell you, this is a male subject. And that starts to impact the value that these girls will get out of school. When you look at, for instance, the number of subjects taught in boys' schools, the number of subjects taught and examined in boys' schools on average is higher than the number of subjects taught in girls' schools. What does that mean? That the boys have more career pathways open to them by the time they finish school, because they have areas from which they look at the equipping of laboratories, for example, in the schools. again you start to see that boys' schools have more science laboratories than girls' schools. And all these are things that start to change the trajectory of what one can get out of school. And those are the things that we as Usawa Agenda advocate for, to say, if you go to school as a child, by the time you leave school, will you be able to achieve your full potential? And achieving your full potential is very heavily dependent on the school environment, what you find in that school, and how that school is able to actually nurture you. If that school is not capable of nurturing you fully, you will not achieve your full potential. And so some of those issues then start to arise. We're still planning to do research beyond the learning outcomes and start to look at life outcomes and ask, when we have 10 young graduates, male, female, having come out of the entire education system, completed the cycle, what are their life opportunities? Do they get into the labor market on the same salary scale? Do they progress equally? Because the same question that arises when you look at school headship, and the majority are men, even at primary school level where majority of the teachers are female, and you pose the question, why is this the case? They tell you, you know, there are challenges with women's progression, and that is an important question to start to ask. Why are there challenges for women to progress through their careers when they entered at the same level of qualification as their male counterparts?
And that is a very important question, because when you look at it, Claudia, you know, the enrollment of girls being more than that of boys in secondary school may seem as if gender parity has been achieved. But then again, the question is, are we risking deeper inequalities in the quality and outcome of education?
Yeah, Mike, that is a good question, and I would relate it to learning outcomes, where you find now majority of learners in grade 4, especially boys, are not getting the necessary competencies at that level based on grade 3 assessment. And again, you find that boys again in grade 6 are completing that level without acquiring the necessary competencies. That means there's a systemic issue in terms of foundational learning, where these children, as they are moving from one grade to another, they're not gaining the necessary competencies for them to be able to progress well in their education. And this is a very big problem, because let's go beyond access. As a country, we've done so well in terms of access, but what happens to these children when they get into the schooling system? Because it's not all about the number of years in the schooling system or a number of years of schooling, but what you're getting out of the education system. I've said this time and time again, that the foundation is critical. How we build the foundation determines how high a building can go, and there's sufficient evidence even globally to say investing in foundational learning has higher returns. So I think it's important for us to ensure that both children, both boys and girls, are well-founded or well-grounded at the pre-primary level. All of them get to school and get quality education at that level for them to benefit from it and become, you know, thrive in their lives after school.
Yes, and when you look at the existing policies, Claudia, to what extent are they focused on historical gender gaps rather than today's more complex and shifting realities when it comes to learning?
Yeah, I think so, because there has been a lot of emphasis on issues of access, but not on gender transformative education, where all children benefit from the system. So that now you're looking at issues of budgeting, where the gender lens is limited in terms of reference. So that now when they're budgeting for education system, they're not considering either boys, what are the needs of the boys and what are the needs of the girls, and also in terms of infrastructure. Are both schools equipped to be able to benefit both genders? Yeah.
And Daktari, you know, the findings also show, and you alluded to this, the infrastructure gaps that are there. For instance, the chemistry labs are available in about 61.5% of boys' schools, as compared to 42% of girls' schools. What does this story tell us about an equal learning environment for both genders?
Thank you. I'll come to this question, but there are 2 points Claudia has made that I want to just buttress.
Yes.
One is around foundational learning. In this world of explosion of information,
yes,
if someone has a strong foundation, they can actually self-educate at higher levels.
Yeah.
But we are not giving our children the kind of foundation they need, and I think we need to emphasize that fact, that foundational learning is so critical,
yes,
and once one has it,
yes,
the rest of the path can be much easier. People can even self-educate if they have a strong foundation. So that needs to be emphasized too. The issue of infrastructure beyond the labs, and I'll come back to the labs. But if you look at, for instance, what is happening with our schools, if you look at our report, you see that most public schools provide sanitary towels for girls, for instance. But there are no changing rooms in those schools. That is an infrastructure gap that will still make a girl be absent from school during their periods, even though they are supplied with sanitary towels.
Yes.
And I think that is what Claudia has alluded to, that when we are budgeting for these learners, we are not taking into account the unique needs of the two genders to make sure that each gender is budgeted for and planned for according to their unique needs. We are budgeting for them as children. And saying, how many children do you have? I have this number.
It's a one-fits-all approach.
Yes, this is the amount for per child. The needs of these children differ, and it's important that we look at their unique needs and budget with those unique needs in mind. That will make it easier for both boys and girls to access same quality of education, to be able to benefit equally from education.
And even the outcomes would be more or less the same.
That eventually what a school report needs to show should be the ability of the child and the effort.
Yes.
But as we see it now, when we look at examination results, very many other things are reflected in that. The background of the child, the level of teaching that they were exposed to, the facilities that were in the school where they attended, and those things shouldn't be manifest in what someone gets out of school. What one gets out of school should only depend on ability and effort. So that if the two of you have the same ability, the only reason you should get different results is if someone put in more effort than the other. But that is not what happens.
Because the school environment is also putting an expectation on both that is on the same level.
Yes, the school environment is putting expectation that does not factor in the differences that sometimes are very stark. And I think that is a problem. Back to the issue of laboratories, and that relates again to another finding that we got. If you look at our data in the report, you'll see that most boys' schools are much older. They have existed for much longer than the girls' schools. That reflects an historical fact. When education was brought here initially, emphasis was on educating boys, so boys' schools were established. And later on, there was now need to educate girls, and so girls' schools came later. But that is a challenge then to the government and to all the stakeholders to say, how do we make sure that even these schools that started later receive the kind of support so that they have a level of infrastructure that is at par? Because at the end of the day, all these schools are educating Kenyan children, and all these schools need to provide equal opportunity to the children. There should be no difference between the child who goes to one school that has been there for 30 years and another that was established 2-3 years ago. When we establish a school, it should be our responsibility to bring it up to a level that the previously established schools are. So that Again, that will solve the problems we see when placement of learners is happening and parents are fighting for few schools and even willing to give bribes to get their children into those few schools.
Yeah.
What parents are responding to is the reality that these schools offer different opportunities. They do not offer the same opportunity. So we have responsibility to improve infrastructure, but also responsibility to spread the number of teachers equitably.
Yes.
Again, if you check in our report, you see that the average number of teachers per examinable subject also differs between schools. And that has implication on learning outcomes. And that has implication on what a child gets out of school. I think those are issues that we need to be addressing.
There are so many issues that need to be looked at. And Claudia, when you look at gender disparities in education, they also intersect with matters that they intersect with matters of poverty, disability, geography, and even in areas, the ASAL areas. When you look at policy, should policy increasingly shift from a gender-only lens to a broader inequality angle that includes even a good look at susceptibility framework?
I agree with that, Mike, and that is the essence of education justice, having policies that have the lens of education justice. That means even a child with disability is able to benefit from the system of education offered in different countries. For example, in this gender report that we produced last year, it shows that 19% of children with disability are out of school, and the children with intellectual disability are most likely to be out of school than any other form of disability. That means already it's already predetermined how their future is going to be, because the education system is not tailored to their concerns. When we conducted the foundational literacy and numeracy assessment, and we have a report for that matter, and we interviewed head of institutions, most of them highlighted the challenges that they face in having the children with disability in school, and one of them is infrastructure challenges, again, to cater to the needs of these children. The other component, that issue that they raised, is issue of personnel. The teachers are not equipped well to cater to the needs of these children, and also the materials to cater to the needs of these children. So that already shows a component of inequality in dealing with children living with disability. Our report also continues to show that illiteracy replicates, right? Where you find a child coming from a household where her parent, the head of household, has no formal education, is 10 times more likely to be out of school than a child whose head of household has a degree. So you see the implication of poverty. And think about it this way, Mike.
Yes.
When this child doesn't go to school, for example, what happens to her life or his life? What happens to, to the society where this child is coming from, the community is coming from? And at the end of the day, what happens to national development? Because as we all know, we are here because we've got an aspect of education. We've gone through an education system. That's why we can engage, we can communicate, we can collaborate, the skills that CBE is actually applying in schools. So you can imagine if that doesn't happen in the society, there will be segregation in the society where you have the haves and have-nots. And what does that mean to the economic growth of a country? Because when someone goes through an education system, it's more than just employment, where you're looking forward to just getting through the education system and you get employed, get a job. But it's a place where you gain knowledge. It's a place where you gain skills like collaboration, creative thinking, critical thinking, creativity, and stuff like that, which make you become a better human being in the society and contribute to it. So when this doesn't happen, then we have a society that is not growing, increased level of crimes, and at the end of the day, you find a lot of children even dropping out of school, because if you don't know how to read, for example, one can get discouraged and at the end of the day drop out of school. And if we have dropouts in the country, what does that mean? Because I normally think, let's think of posterity, beyond now. Whatever seeds we are planting now, we're going to reap them in the next 5 years, for example? What kind of people will we have in our society in terms of professions, in terms of people living in our society? And one of the things I'd like to mention in terms of policy, we have the re-entry policy for teenage mothers, right, in the country. There has been improvements from our last gender report to now in terms of the number of children getting pregnant, right? But there are still issues there where our report indicates that an out-of-school girl is over 12 times as likely as her in-school counterpart to fall victim of teenage pregnancy. So you can imagine an out-of-school girl gets pregnant. There's the child. Yes. There's, you know, there's a ripple effect to that. And our report also indicated that 51.2% of these girls get back to school. That means like half. Yes. Just half of the girls go back to school. Yeah. So what happens to the remaining girls who do not go to school, right? Yeah. And then secondly, you find again, there are challenges still facing these children, even if they want to go back to school. There's a component of stigma. Stigma is the biggest challenge facing these girls when they, you know, they're trying or they're going back to school. Yeah. And even we spoke to the management of the head of institutions in terms of the challenges they also face at that level, and one of them is unsupportive parents, and then also the aspect of stigma comes in second. So we need to focus on this to ensure, because we live in a society, what can we all do to ensure that we support each other and these children go through an education system so that they thrive in their lives?
Yes.
Yeah.
All this we are talking about touches on everything to do with educating the current and the next generation that we have right now, and you've highlighted very important issues to that regard. And we're coming back to continue with this conversation after this short break. Stay with us.
Hebu fikirie environment kama hii hapa Western Kenya. Eti mtu atatoka hapa aende Nairobi kusoma university to conquer the world. Mimi Andrew nitahakikisha hiyo ndoto imezimwa. Tazama hayo yote kwa Gundu KBC Tuesday to Thursday 7:30 p.m. Leo sio kesho.
He was gliding down the street on his skateboard when he fell and in a moment was somewhere beyond this world. What he saw didn't just surprise him, it shook him to his core.
Like a hand right out of a glove, I found myself looking down at my own body, but it wasn't me.
The good news of the world is Jesus Christ, right? Yeah. And it's hard to talk to people about that. But you bring out a soccer ball and you do some clinics and you bring out some food and, you know.
And I said, what will happen to the children? She said, we have no other place to go, and therefore they'll be returned to the streets.
Wewe ukazichukua ukaenda ukazibadilisha namba na ukaanza kuziuza.
Ndio liibiwa?
Mimi bado ibiwa ndugu.
Kijana yako alikwambia liibiwa na nani?
Ngo yele sikuwa na pen. Na hii pen. Pen apiko.
Ndio tukapata wewe anatengeneza number plate, anabadilisha, anauza.
Tembea polepole na mwendo wa haste ukienda nyumbani.
How can pikipiki swim like a fish?
Ilienda kwa mtu ikaenda ikiduguruma tu.
Mzee,
bindu nilisema mvua inyeshe wakati ile uko kwa barabara.
Si wewe ulisema kwani wewe ni nyesaye, ubenyesaye wale mbuli.
Waswahili siku zote wasema fumbo mfumbie mjinga, mwerevu atalifumbua.
Wewe hata ukiniangalia ni wewe ninaambia. Wanaume wa siku hizi wabadilika kama nguo, wabadilika kama viatu, kama ufagio umezeeka.
Utapata kama venye teknolojia sasa hii imesambaa kila mahali. Utapata vijana baada ya kuingia kwenye simu zao wanaenda kwa hizo simu zao, na kuna filamu huko hadi zenye hazivutii.
Maajabu na miujiza. Funika kombe,
mwana apotee.
Mwana apotee. Tazamaji, funika kombe, mwana haramu apite. Nina ngozi, mayai yana nini?
Kikwada ama ugwada.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. You're watching Future Voices right here on Entertainment Thursday, and today we are talking matters of education, gender disparities, and we are looking at how we can see those disparities addressed so that we can see an educated next generation. Daktari, still on the report, it highlights about 5.1% of boys are out of school compared to 4.3% of girls. Question is this an emerging structural shift in education participation for both genders?
I think it is, and it is a dangerous one. Why is it dangerous? Because when you're talking about educating the next generation, we've just seen that is only possible by educating the current generation.
Yes.
Because households where the heads are not educated, children are not going to school. This increasing number of young boys who are not going to school are actually future heads of households. And if they're going to be heads of households, going by what we can see now, it means their children are going to be likely not going to school. So I think that we need to start to address the issues that are informing all children attending school and benefiting from school. Several things are responsible for maybe boys not going to school. One of those things is societal expectation on boys to be providers.
Yeah.
If you walk around the country, we have a number of child-headed households for some reason. Either parents are deceased, or we have situations where you have parents but they've become alcoholics, households have disintegrated, and so children are taking responsibility for other children. Those households are generally boy-headed, and this becomes a reason for boys to be out of school. We started to see this trend in 2020 post-COVID. Now, part of the explanation may be that a lot of young boys got into some income generation during the extended closure of schools. And then they didn't see the reason to go back to school. And they become an inspiration to other boys in their neighborhoods not to go to school because they think they're making money. When you're very young, getting 100 shillings in a day is a lot of money. You don't realize that you are actually compromising a future where you'll be able to make 10 times, 100 times that much.
Especially if you do not have someone to guide you.
Yes, and if you don't have someone to guide you. 3, there is something that is dangerous that has been coming up in the media recently that we need to speak against, which is there are a few people who for some reason got money and they don't have an education, walking around flaunting the money and saying, I didn't go to school but I have money, so I have everything. And that becomes a very negative signal to these young people whose minds are still very impressionable, who may be admiring the kinds of things that these other people are flaunting. And they think going to school is just not useful because in any case, all I want is money. Sometimes I ask myself, so what do you do with money once you got it? You buy the things made by those who went to school.
Yeah.
So you slave yourself to get the money to pay those who went to school, basically. Yeah. You steal money from somewhere, you are being chased around, you go pay a lawyer who went to school.
Yes.
To the lawyer, that is legitimate income.
Yes.
He doesn't have to run from anybody.
Yeah.
And for you who call yourself whatever, and you made this money through whatever means, you're running from your own shadow. And eventually just paying those who went to school. So we need to communicate this clearly to young people, that at the end of the day, education is very important, more important than many of the things that may be diverting their attention this early.
And that is an impact even social media is contributing to, because left, right, and center, you see people talking about how they are making money, yet they did not go to school. I think that is how even it's influencing perception of young ones towards education, that I do not need to go to school to make money. But at the end of the day, education is very important. Claudia, when you look at the report, in matters of leadership gaps, women make up about 41.8% of teachers, but only 33% of principals, and around 15.7% of board of management chairs. Do you think that we need policy changes that address this leadership imbalance?
Thank you, Mike. I think first, to begin with, let's implement the policies there, where there should be consideration in terms of gender parity in positions of leadership and governance. So for me, I feel like it's not an issue of creating or coming up with another policy. It's an issue of implementing what is already there. From our findings, you find that even in girls' schools, in terms of board of management, you find a higher percentage in girls' schools are male. You find 31% of the board members are female, yet it's a girls' school. So I think it's an issue of the agencies responsible for deployment of teachers and issues of leadership to ensure that there's gender parity, because when there are women teaching but are not occupying the positions of leadership, what are we telling the next generation? That you see, men are the ones who can lead, but women cannot. So I think it's time to implement those policies to ensure that, you know, both male and women and females can.
What are you falling short in terms of implementing these policies?
I think for me it's an issue of accountability. People in positions of leadership or the people responsible to implement the policies are not doing what it's supposed to be done. Yeah. For example, if an agency like Teacher Service Commission is responsible for, you know, teachers in different schools, when it comes to employment opportunities, how do we consider the gender lens in terms of postings, in terms of promotions as well?
Daktari, how much of what we call a gender disparity is actually shaped by poverty, community expectations, as well as household realities, rather than school systems alone?
I think that most of it is actually shaped by societal expectations, because we have spoken to the Teacher Service Commission, and they have given some of the challenges they face in terms of promoting female teachers to leadership. And I remember in the last conversation we had when we were releasing the report, we were told, like here in Nairobi, for instance, the women who are teaching in Nairobi are married to men who work in Nairobi. And so you want to promote her to make her head teacher, and there's no vacancy in Nairobi, and you tell her you go to Machakos or Kajiado, and she tells you, never ever. I'm not going to break my family because of becoming a head.
Yeah.
So they explained that, and sometimes those challenges are there. But when you look at board composition, appointment of board members, that has no such a challenge. Yeah. And yet 85% of board chairs are men. I serve on a board of a girls' school, and the chair of that board is a man.
Is a man.
Yeah. And sometimes I ask myself, so we have a chief justice who is female. And yet schools that have produced such a senior women in this country still cannot produce a woman to chair their own board of management.
That is
we still have to appoint a man to chair that. And why it's all that? Because these positions are political. And our society politically remains patriarchal. They believe that the communities will align behind their sons rather than their daughters. So whoever is making appointments is looking for political acceptance and support, and is going to appoint sons from each of these places rather than appoint daughters.
Yeah.
And I think that is the problem that we haven't confronted.
The community expectation.
Yeah.
Now, and when you look at infrastructure and policy, Claudia, how much influence do teachers and classroom policies, practices have in shaping a learner's confidence in as far as learning is concerned? Because a learner's confidence will automatically, in a way, affect how they go for their aspirations.
Yeah, Mike, I'd like to talk about you look at the education system in totality, right? From cradle to the time they leave the school system.
Yeah.
And now we're implementing the competency-based education, which is more practical. That means it's leaning towards practical skills. You find that the children move from, they have an assessment at grade 3, they have an assessment at grade 6, and then they're expected now to choose the pathways as they are going to senior school. So if you find, for example, if these children are not exposed to, for example, STEM-related subjects and the laboratories, for example, at junior school, how are we preparing them for the pathways in senior school? That means already we are exposing these children to weak foundation, which will affect their outcomes in senior school. So it is a critical component to consider in terms of infrastructure to ensure that they get the necessary practical skills that they need to advance their education. Yeah.
Because that is very important. And when you look at representation or in leadership, Daktari, how important is that representation in leadership, especially when it comes to shaping mentorship, policy, and the way resources are distributed within learning institutions?
You know, there is a statement that I do not know whom to attribute to, but it says, you can't, let me try to remember it the way it is said. You know, there's nothing for us without us. So you can't have a group of men making decisions and then believe that they will think adequately about what the women's needs are in that context. You need both genders represented for both genders' interests to be factored in decision making. And that is one of the challenges that we are throwing to the key actors. And the key actors in this case are the Ministry of Education, because it's responsible for appointing board members, and the Teacher Service Commission, which posts teachers, but also sponsors, because sponsors contribute to the establishment of school management boards, to make sure that there is fair representation of both genders. Right now we are working on developing this country as a STEM country. Let us make sure that all our children, male and female, have access to what is required to enable them pursue their STEM ambition. Otherwise, if they don't have that base, then we're going to create STEM graduates in name, but in practice they will not be STEM graduates, and that is not useful for us as a society. I am a development economist by training, and societies develop based on the competencies of their people, much more than anything else. And because they develop based on the competencies of the people, competency development is itself something that is self-driving. If you take one person to school and they train very well and they come out of that school having trained very well, they will be successful in whichever path they choose. Whether they're going to be employed, they will be entrepreneurs. In everything they choose, they will be successful. that will motivate others to want to be like that person, to go to school and train well and be like that person. If you take someone to school and you do not equip them sufficiently from that school, they come out of school and fail. And they become a disincentive to others, because everyone else uses them as an example of how useless schooling is. Those are some of the things we do not pay attention to. When we just push children through the school system, treat the school system as a factory that just produces graduates without paying attention to what substance they have gained from being in school, that becomes an issue. There is an issue Claudia talked about earlier about children with disabilities.
Yes.
When you look at, for example, all our special secondary schools, they are all national schools. If you compare, and we will be releasing a report on secondary education soon, but if you look at the data and the performance of learners in special schools, it does not in any way compare to the results of other national schools. The gap is so wide. It doesn't mean that the children in these special schools are less able.
Yes.
It simply means that we have not met their special needs. Because these are children with special needs. We have not met those needs to enable them to excel to their full potential.
We are still doing them from a one-fits-all perspective.
Yes, we are still budgeting for every child with what we budget, and yet they have special needs, and we haven't met those special needs. So their performance is way below the performance of children in other national schools. If you trace back in the 80s, some of the best performing schools in this country were special schools. So what happened in between?
That was a big question. What happened in between? And how much responsibility, Claudia, lies with parents and communities in shaping education outcomes? Are expectations at home still affecting or influencing how boys and girls view education?
Yeah, as Emmanuel had already alluded it, there is still a component of the cultural and the social norms in the society, which in some parts of this country you would still find that a particular gender is preferred than others, especially boys are preferred to girls, and priorities are given in terms of education. But I want to say that communities and parents are critical stakeholders in the education ecosystem, because the children spend time at home with their parents, and you can already tell where the head of the household has a degree. You know, the children, there are less children who are out of school compared to the ones without formal education. So the community and the parents are the ones who have the power to actually make the school system accountable, demand for quality education at their level. If what the gap that is there with the community is them being engaged, them being empowered to know their rights in terms of pushing for quality education. So ensuring that they have the right information, they have the right evidence to push for changes in their areas, being able to hold their policymakers, their politicians accountable, having a scorecard, for example, in their counties and sub-counties, saying if an MCA has not, performed in terms of improving learning outcomes, you're not going back for the second term, stuff like that. And then again, creating an environment at home to ensure that these children get the necessary competencies. It can be a simple thing, but for example, ensuring that there's a storybook at home, ensuring that when this child comes home from school, there's sufficient time for them to read. It can be even engaging with the teachers, especially now with the competency-based education. The parent has a critical role in terms of collaborating with the teachers to ensure that they understand actually the challenges that the child is facing, and the teacher is able to support the child. So it's the community and the parents are critical components in the education ecosystem.
And Daktari, for learners who are able differently, does gender create an additional layer of disadvantage within the education system?
Thank you. I'll come to that, but let me add something to what Claudia just said about the communities. There is something that we as Usawa Agenda are trying really hard to convince Kenyans about. That children don't belong to parents. Children belong to the country. I've spoken to school heads and told them, some of you are always very eager to expel children from school. But when you expel them from school, where are you expelling them to? To society. Yes. So when they become rogues, whose problem will they be? Some of the parents you think will be bothered will actually die and leave you in the village with those fellows. So whose problem will they be? Will they be problems of their dead parents or problems to you who will be alive with them? So society needs to take that responsibility and understand that it is our duty, all of us, to make sure that every child gets a very good education, not because when they get a good education they will benefit themselves, really. Of course they will benefit themselves, but they will make their best contribution to our society. People fall sick here and they board planes to go to India. What are they going to look for? Competent doctors. Wouldn't it be good for us if we had all those here? So you don't have to start worrying about the air ticket and upkeep while you are there. You just think about the medical bill only. When children go to school, they benefit society. When they don't go to school, they potentially hurt. They become a potential threat to the same society. So we need to understand that. Of course, parents have the primary role, but where a parent is unable or a parent has himself or herself lost the way, and there are many parents who have lost the way, we shouldn't sit there and watch as children miss their opportunities because of the failures of their parents. Because eventually that will become our collective failure as a society, and it will undermine our prosperity aspirations. So I think that is something every one of us needs to get clearly. And related to that is the fact that a lot of parents who have money are trying to use education as something that they can privatize and create advantage for their children. Let us just enable every child to achieve their best, rather than saying, let mine achieve better than this other one. And because IQ is not gotten in school, is innate, and smarter people, if you don't educate them, they will undermine the less smart ones that you have educated, and society will not progress at the end of the day. So I think that we need to understand that fact. Back to the question that you raised, I think there are very many intersections. In this report, for instance, we highlighted the learning outcomes and enrollment levels in refugee camps. And you see that children in refugee camps, actually in refugee camps now there are way more girls out of school compared to boys, unlike in the rest of the country where we have more boys out of school. In refugee camps it is opposite. In our society generally, more children are out of school in female-headed households. In refugee camps, more children are out of school in male-headed households. There is a difference when you now look at the situation in the refugee camps. For disability, when it intersects with gender and intersects with low incomes in the households, it becomes almost an insurmountable challenge for many of these children. And consequences of that, children are married off because a household needs to survive, and the only way to survive is to marry off an underage child so that they can get something to live off. Consequence of that is children end up in teenage pregnancy because the household cannot provide certain basics. Some rogues in the village who can give the girl sanitary towel, who can give the girl something else, exploit them, and they start to be that problem again. So many intersections that are causing problems in our education system.
Yes. Our closing, your closing remarks, the way forward, each 30 seconds each. I'll start with you.
Yeah, one of the things that we need to do as a country is what I had said earlier on, budgeting from a gender lens, and then ensuring all our schools can afford our children quality education. Yes. For example, if you're looking at secondary school, senior schools, for example, from cluster 1 to 4, let's have all the facilities that are required, teachers and everything that the children require, so that there's no scramble for these big schools and the cluster 4 schools are not considered. So let's ensure all our schools are equipped, and lastly, let the community take responsibility of our children. Let's support each other to ensure there's no child out of school and they get through the education system and thrive in their lives.
Yes, Dr.
Let's focus on quality. At the moment, we have focused on getting our children into school. That we call a necessary but not sufficient condition. Getting children into school is a necessary condition, but it's not sufficient. And what is sufficient is making sure those who go to school get value out of school, and that will motivate every other child to go to school. That is how in the old days people walked long distances to go to school, because they were kind of guaranteed that if you finished that journey, there was something good awaiting you. We need to make sure there is quality education in all our institutions of learning.
Asanteni sana for making time.
Thank you.
And that is Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, who is Executive Director, Usawa Agenda, and also Claudia Lagat, Policy Engagement from Usawa Agenda, speaking to us on matters that pertain to education, gender disparities, and how we can enhance education so that the current and the next generation get quality education. This conversation ends now. My name is Mike Megwe. Thank you for tuning in. Entertainment Thursday starts up next with Eve Nyaga. Stay with us.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tunaangazia upanzi wa parachichi na makadamia.
Lakini huwezi kusema ati utategemea hii peke yake, kwa sababu sasa matunda ni kidogo. Lakini kama ukiwa na ekaleji kubwa, makadamia inaweza kusaidia, kwa sababu pesa iko.
Ungana nasi Jumamosi saa 10:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
Made it on time for the Big Mind Show. The way I balance school and skating is, well, Monday to Friday I go to school, and Saturday to Sunday I go to talent dancing, modeling. I also play.
And today we are reading the book and the sun.
Snakes let slow on a sunny sun.
And today I'm going to show you how to make stuffed tosia.
Uwe nayo kila hali, nipo wende masomoni, mwanafunzi wa shuleni, onyesha adabu yako.
Sio ngona kuja kuchukua, sio tabu hivyo. Na shapasi. Kimaliza nitapitia hapa nkienda steni nitakuregeshea.
Sitakuchoma.
Hapa ni mkono wapata moto makerekani.
Haya
pasi hiyo, lakini hala pasi yenyewe si yangu. Utumie ukimaliza tu niregeshe.
Toke kule ninatoka mwenyewe na haraka zangu nakuja kuchukua changu. Leo waje kuniambia changu hakiko changu na kukabidhi wewe. Leo kiko nyumba ya pili. Wewe ulipata mahari ya kumuoa Amina ukashindwa kununua pasi.
Kama imevunjika mkono ukimwomba msamahani, huo mkono utawekwa binadamu.
Sasa si pasi mpya itanunuliwa.
Wewe wajua pasi
hakuna.
Promised a lifetime, you promised to get away, you promised to dream, you promised to find a way. Where is it now? I gave you everything, trying to lie. I guess you got everything. I was happy in my mama's house, I thought I wasn't, and I wonder how. I didn't wanna come out, said you got a way out, said you're gonna figure it out. I'm alone now. Somebody take me back to the innocence. I'm tired of this. These streets of Nairobi, streets of Nairobi. Why did nobody want me? Somebody take me back to the innocence. I'm tired of this. These streets of Nairobi, streets of Nairobi. Why did nobody want me? Story, oh, didn't know I really meant it. No, let's try it again. Come with me, now see we fix it for the night. Niku, onyeshi kitu nice, ukona figure fine. I have contemplated these lies before. Now I'm here and I'm ready for. I was happy my mama.
Good morning once again, my entertainment, but of course, as we enter you, we also educate you. And this morning, I have the Jacinta Were Luanga. Now, she is a HR manager. And of course, before we even start the interview, yesterday was International HR Day. So, Jacinta, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you this morning. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. I always feel inspired when I have to talk matters HR and people management.
Okay.
Yes.
So just give us a brief introduction about yourself and how you got into HR.
Okay. As you said before, my name is Jacinta Were Luanga. I've been a HR practitioner for over 23 years.
23 years?
Yes, starting off as a HR officer, HR administration and training manager, group human resources manager, and lastly, head of human resources at Consolidated Bank.
Okay.
Where I left in 2024 to just pursue other interests in consultancy, because I felt that there's much more I can give to HR.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a HR and leadership consultant as we speak.
Okay.
Yes.
So as a young girl, was HR something that you saw yourself being in for over 20 years?
Not really. I just was more into communications, surprisingly.
Oh.
Yes. And so because of that, I even studied literature, English language up to university. And I thought I'd go into the communications world.
Okay.
But as life has it, sometimes you are taken in a direction you didn't expect. So I found myself in the computer world. And later on, I landed into communications in a way where I worked with Lutheran World Relief for 8 years as a communications officer. I enjoyed the job, but at one point I felt another calling. And I remember people kept telling me, you're a people person, you're a people person, you're a people person. So I felt that I need to have a change of career. And I went and studied HR at the Institute of Human Resources Management. Those days it was called Institute of Personnel Management, and moved into HR, where I started working with CMC Holdings Group. Yeah, I worked there for 10 years, and I loved HR, yes. So that's when I discovered this is what I like doing, because I love dealing with people. Yes.
Dealing with people is a lot. It's a lot because people have very different personalities.
Yes.
Yes. How do you navigate that?
Dealing with people, I always tell people, and I would always tell the staff that I work with in the HR departments, HR is a calling. HR is a calling because you have to be very emotionally intelligent. You have to be also very humane, but again, you also have to be firm. You have to love it. Because if you don't love people and don't love dealing with people, you cannot do HR. It will be a very stressful job, and you'll actually not like your job. Yeah, so you need to, what I'd say is that HR develops you. In fact, HR matures you as a person, because you are put into those challenges where you have to deal with people of all kinds, all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of characters, all kinds of upbringings, and all kinds of skills and everything. So you have to navigate and manage. You have to do a lot of training, learning, and that goes a lot during the job. And the experience, you see what other people did, and also training is important in HR, not just the initial training. You keep updating yourself with skills, and know what is happening, the current trends. And you also have to be in touch with the HR institutions, like the Institute of Human Resource Management, where you do a lot of sharing. Yes, but I'd say HR is one of those jobs you learn more through experience. After your first diploma or degree, you learn more through experience. Yeah, the more you work, the more you know.
The more experience you get.
But you have to love it. Yes, that's one thing I'll say for sure.
So in your opinion, and in your many years of being a HR manager, what makes a good HR manager?
A good HR manager has to be fair. Fairness is very important when you're dealing with people, wherever you are. Because if you're not fair, people start feeling discriminated upon, and that affects the way they operate and their morale. So you have to be very fair in all and apply things consistently. You have to be firm. Because of course, as a HR, you're like the code of conduct. You're the role model in the organization, and you have to make sure that people live according to the policies and procedures, so that they don't go out of control or out of way. So you have to be firm, and you have to make sure they also deliver, because they are there to work. You also have to be humane. There's the human aspect. You know, sometimes you can be a leader without the human touch, and you become unapproachable. People cannot even come to you when they have their personal problems or other problems. They may even be having problems within the organization with their supervisors, but if you're not approachable, they will not come to you. And you will not know that things are going wrong down there. You also have to be in touch with the people. You have to be listen to the ground, as they say nowadays. You have to know what is going on, what does this call for, move out of your desk sometimes, walk around, interact, have sessions with them, have formal sessions and informal sessions where you get to know them, be part of them, interact in their activities, but always with a boundary. Because there comes that time in HR where I would have to, for example, discipline you. And you're my very close friend. That's why you have to be very careful with the boundaries, because you still need to practice fairness. Let's say my good friend in the organization does something very wrong. I have to practice fairness.
Okay, so like you said, one of the challenge of being a HR manager is dealing with different personalities, dealing with people's different problems. But I would also like to know, what are some of the good moments you've had as a HR manager? What kept you going over the years?
What kept me going over the years? There are two things. You know, as a HR, you're an advocate of the people, and you're also an advocate of the organization. So you have to balance the needs. What do the people need? What does the organization need? What are the objectives of the organizations? So what kept me going or fulfilled me is when I'd see staff growing, staff engaged in their work, and staff happy as they do their work. You watch a staff come in and grow and grow and grow, and that makes you happy. But at the same time, is the growth in tandem with the organizational growth. Yeah, so you also have to look at that side.
Yeah.
And when I'd see that happening, that would give me a lot of pleasure. I'd also like when I'd see the staff satisfaction surveys and engagement surveys, and I'd feel like, oh, they're happy with HR. That would make me happy, because I'd feel like, okay, we are doing a good job.
Okay.
But you always have to be manage the two forces. And I'd also love just enjoying the successful moments, yes, in organizations. Yeah, whether it's individual success of our staff or organizational success, where they've stood out or just made a big move or a big turnaround or things like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So there's a lot of joy. HR is interesting.
Yeah.
It's a mixed grill. There's a lot of joy, but there's also a lot of stress. But it depends on how you look at the stress. Yeah, you need to do a lot. You know, HR, you need to also have a lot of emotional intelligence when you're dealing with people, because you'll deal with all sorts of things.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll find yourself having to cancel people. Sometimes people are bereaved, and sometimes people are suffering from different challenges, alcoholism, drug abuse, and they're your staff. And you have to know how you can help them get out of that state the best way possible, without finally exiting them.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's where that's where the human aspect comes in. Yeah,
so you're
but
also like
that
a
has to have
counselor in
limit.
it.
Yes. I think with HR you automatically become a counselor. Sorry. So it's necessary even as a HR to do some counseling, and it's part of the training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's part of the training program as a unit. Yeah. As a unit, but it would be good to just. They usually have at least annually, you'll see trainings being called upon for HR counseling, and you just go. Yes. Yeah, so that you understand better how to manipulate some of this, how to manage actually some of these situations, because they can be tricky. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So Jacinta, what made you decide that, you know what, it's time for me to write a book about leadership? And before we even get to the leadership part, the book part, why decide to write about leadership and not HR?
Okay. HR and leadership cannot be separated. Because what is leadership about? Leading people, isn't it? Yes. So the two are in tandem. And as a HR, you are a leader, because people look so much upon you for everything. When everything goes wrong, HR is blamed. When everything goes right, HR is applauded. You see, so you are a leader. You're a serious leader, and it should never be undermined. Yes. Yeah. In many organizations, HR deals closely with all the leadership. Yes. Beginning from the CEO to the senior management team. No, beginning from the board to the CEO, the senior management team. You liaise with all of them, and then the rest of the staff, and you're dealing with them on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So this book, in fact, is good for HR managers as well. Okay. Yes. In fact, for all leaders, but HR managers, it will help them also be able to identify those traits in some of the leaders that they work with, and see how they can help them improve in those traits. That's why I captured it all in leadership. And I'd say I've been in leadership position like for the last 23 years or so. Yeah, senior management. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And I have a passion for leadership.
Oh,
yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So what made you decide that you needed to write a book and tell the leaders, tell other HR managers that they need to read this book, and you need to share the knowledge that you have?
Okay. This is a book I've been wanting to write for a while. You know, these things you keep procrastinating and procrastinating.
How long have you wanted to write?
Boy, I'd say like for the last 10 years or so. Yeah, 10. I've always wanted to write, to be honest. Never just been sure what I wanted to write. Yes. But with time, at first I thought, oh, I want to write an autobiography. But with time, I started getting the need to write about this. Why? Because when you work, you see so many things, that are going wrong, and you have to keep guiding and correcting and and these things which I'm talking about in this book, are not written in many, in many leadership books, and I am not in any way discrediting the other leadership books. They are wonderful because they give all the theories, the practicals, and what about how to lead. But in this book, I felt I need to talk about those things that I've experienced as a HR manager, dealing with different managers at different levels, dealing with even CEOs, even at board level, and you see some habits that actually don't augur well for the staff and for the organization. And these are not the things usually people are scared to talk about, or even write about. But I feel like I had I have a duty. I'd say this is my purpose, to pass that message, because you'll see the issues of incompetence. So
before we even get to the content in the book, I'm intrigued by the cover and the mask. What inspired the cover?
This cover, what inspired this cover? This mask, this kind of picture is used to depict narcissist behavior. You know, they are all masked, and I'm asking HR leaders, because I'm not saying all, sometimes unknowingly or knowingly, they can depict those, not HR, I'm telling leaders in totality, to make sure that they can unmask, remove those masks, and be authentic. Be authentic, be genuine, be true to the word, be full of integrity, be fair, and that way they will lead better. So that's the issue of this mask. We want authentic leaders. That is what I am saying. Remove the mask and you will be a better person and a better leader.
Okay, so let's get into the contents of the book. And the book is about how not to lead. So we are not telling them how to lead, but we're just correcting them or showing them what not to do, right?
What not to do.
Okay, so let's go through the contents. Yes, just take us through very fast.
Very fast. Okay, this book is 176 pages. It's an easy read. I tried to make it as simple as possible. Reason being, I know people, Kenyan, we are not so used to reading too much nowadays. And when you see a fat book, I too, I get discouraged.
Me too. When I see many pages, I'm going to set aside that book and just
start and never finish.
And with the concentration span that we have these days, it's very challenging to read the physical books.
And with the technology that you can even just listen to books.
To an audio book.
You don't need to. So this book tackles issues of incompetence, like when leadership fails to measure up. And this comes in cases where someone is promoted and they don't have the requisite skills, knowledge, experience to do their job. And the disaster that comes thereafter of the people under him. Or her. Then insecurity, we have insecure leaders, and they project their insecurities to their staff and become very, what would I say, extremely authoritative. Because that's how they can gain the authority, because they feel insecure. And as they do so, they affect staff morale. They kill innovation. They create even staff exits, you know. And staff don't give their best. Because sometimes they even put down, you know, you want to give your idea, but your supervisor is insecure and he thinks your ideas are better. Same case with incompetence than his. So he puts you down all the time. So what happens? That's a potential just being subdued in the office. You never get the best out of that person. Dishonesty, dishonesty is just a survival tactic, and sometimes it's used to just manipulate people so that you you stay on the top.
Yes.
Yeah. And why would you do that? Because you have some insecurities within you. Then there's, you know, as leaders, we're supposed to be role models. What you do, just like parents, your children watch.
Yeah.
They watch more than what you say. They watch what you do more than what you say.
That's true.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, if you are a good role model, your staff will pick the good habits. If you're a bad role model, and in that case we call it rogue modeling, I've called it rogue modeling, they will also pick that.
Yes.
It's funny.
Isn't that why they say that a good leader, the difference between a leader and a boss is a leader also, they do what they're asking you to do.
Yes, they
if
do
I'm
what they're
I'm
asking
telling
to
you
do.
to be on time, I'm gonna be the first person to be on time.
Yes,
Leading by
right.
example.
Yeah, that's an example. I can't be telling you, be at work at 8 and I'm reaching there at 10 every day.
Yes.
You see? I need to role model. I can't tell you, deliver, bring us business, and I'm bringing nothing. You know, as a leader, you have to lead from the front. Yeah. I can't tell you, be courteous, and I'm being uncourteous. It's more even, in fact, this book deals a lot about the character of a leader.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So before we get back to the table of contents, what are some of the red flags that you have seen when it comes to leaders?
The main red flags which I've seen,
Oh, they are addressed here.
yeah, they're addressed here. You see, fighting the competent, and that comes from incompetence. Yeah. So you crush what you can't control.
Yes.
When you see people know more than you, instead of trying to use them to your benefit, to not use them. Use is not the good word. Yeah. But to have them reach your objectives, you try to crush them because you don't want them to shine, and then you are scared.
You don't want them to outshine you.
Yeah, they'll take your role. What most leaders don't realize is when your people shine,
you also
shine.
Yeah.
Yes, they help you to grow. And I think our call to leadership, especially in management, in the corporate world, is to help people grow. So you cannot be the leader who is crushing people instead of helping them grow. The other thing I see is favorism. Favorism, yeah? Using influence. I mean, where you just favor certain people because they dance to your tune.
Yeah.
Not because they do well, not because they perform well, but they dance to your tune. Whatever you say, whether it's right or wrong, they'll do it. These people mostly are your spies within the organization, and they go giving you sometimes wrong information, which affects other staff and all that.
Yes.
That's another one. And because of that favorism, bad things can happen.
Yes.
Even unfair promotions.
Yes, that is where I was going with that. I was going to ask you. So then that leads to, you know, promoting people who might not be deserving.
Are you seeing the spiral effect?
Yes.
Unfair promotions of the incompetent people to lead competent people. Are you seeing the spiral effect? What happens in this case? Organizations start losing their good talent. Their good talent take off. Yeah. And they're left now with the favored and the whatever who are not as good.
And whoever is trying to act as a favorite, they're also doing that for their own benefit.
Of course. Favorites are also another character that need to be discussed because they actually are self-centered. It's all for selfish interest.
Yes.
They're doing that. It's a survival tactic.
Yeah.
It's part of, and it's not a good survival tactic. I wouldn't call it a positive survival tactic. Survive on your work, on doing the right thing, delivering well, knowing your work well, being open, honest, and competent. And that is it.
Yes.
You don't need to pray favorites to anybody.
Yeah.
You are not employed to be favorite. You're employed to deliver. Just distinguish between the two.
All right. So, Jacinta, I want us to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with more and just get to see what else we have on how not to lead. So, don't you go anywhere. We'll be back.
The 5th East Africa Broadcasters Convention will be held on the 26th to 28th of May 2026 at Emara Ole Sereni Hotel, Nairobi. We expect 200 delegates across the region. We are going to discuss a lot of things. The theme for this year's East Africa Convention is Reimagining Next, Artificial Intelligence and Cloud Broadcasting. To register to participate actually in the convention, visit the Association of Professional Broadcasters website, www.apbke.org, and register. The registration fee is 15,000 Kenyan shillings for the 3 days convention. You are most welcome. Let us have conversations, connections, and make decisions that are going to shape the future of broadcasting.
He was gliding down the street on his skateboard when he fell and in a moment was somewhere beyond this world. What he saw didn't just surprise him, it shook him to his core.
Like a hand right out of a glove, I found myself looking down at my own body, but it wasn't me.
The good news of the world is Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to talk to people about that. But you bring out a soccer ball and you do some clinics and you bring out some food and, you know.
And I said, what will happen to the children? She said, we have no other place to go, and therefore they'll be returned to the streets.
Your body has a hidden highway, the lymphatic system.
Tiny part of our circulatory system where exchange of fluid happens between the arteries and the veins. That is where the lymphatic system picks its work.
It carries infection-fighting cells and removes waste.
Any compromise to the lymphatic system at any level can now lead to the retention of that fluid, which now in turn keeps that lymph swollen, hence lymphoedema.
Nilianza kutafuta matibabu kwa hospitali baada ya kuduanga asubuhi nikiamka ninaona kuna mabadiliko ya mguu mmoja hautoshani na mwingine.
Now this week on Health and Lifestyle, we discover how blockages can cause chronic swelling.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Entertainment Thursday, and with me I have HR manager Jacinta Werelwanga, who is the new author of How Not to Lead, and she's just telling us from her 23 years of experience what good leadership should look like and what bad leadership also looks like. So if you're just joining the conversation, let's pick it up. So, Jacinta, I am sure that you have sat across many managers and many leaders.
Yes.
And some of them might have not known that their leadership is not that good.
Yes.
How do you handle such a situation?
Okay. In such a case, it's when you actually decide there are many things you can do. Okay, a few things. You can look at maybe this person has not been trained on some of these things. And leadership training is always a very good way to go. And you focus on the areas of weakness, like we have something called a training needs analysis as HR for each staff, and you focus on those needs. There are some which they may not learn in that skill, in that training, because some are just inherent in them. And that's when you can have personal conversations with them and let them know that, hey, the way you're handling these guys is not working, Why don't you try this different approach? Yes, those are the two ways. And you monitor and see, if there's any improvement. And that is what I was saying, it's part of growing leaders. Some leaders are not bad because they want to be bad. Some even do it unknowingly. Some do it unknowingly. They're not even aware that what I'm doing is not right. So that's why you have to bring it to their attention. And some have copy-pasted. You see, you're at a disadvantage when you're under a bad leader. Yeah. Because you know that is what leadership is.
It looks like,
yeah,
yes.
that is what it looks like. So you carry, when you become a leader, you start behaving the same way. Yes, they get the wrong template. Yeah, that's what I'd say. And that's why leaders need to be very careful how they lead, because they are templates. They're templates that people copy. Yeah. And move around with.
So the same way we have, you see, in leadership, the way you're talking about it is just giving me, it's like a relationship, you know?
Yes, it is.
Sometimes you have, this relationship is bad, but it's not toxic. I'm sure leadership is the same way. How do you differentiate, or where do you draw the line between a bad leader and an extremely toxic leader?
An extremely toxic, a bad leader is not continuously bad, you know. It's not continuously bad, and they may not possess all those 18 traits I've talked about. Maybe they have 5 of them, which you can work on and discuss with them, take them for training, emotional intelligence training, people management things, you know, human training, how do you deal with humans, counseling and such things. In fact, I feel all leaders need to study some sort of HR. Because that helps them to lead with that. Then there's the toxic leader who I think is deliberate. And they have all those, plus even maybe some more.
I think I'm just going to mention some of this. You know, they're jealous, you know, fighting they're manipulative. You know, there are threats, severe gossips. Those are some of the chapters. Character assassination.
Severe gossip.
Yes, lack of compassion, favoritism, micromanagement, hypocrisy, resistant to change, pretense, poor communication. Yes, there are a lot. So you're saying a toxic leader might have all the characteristics, and they're doing them.
And they're doing them with intention. They usually, it's not that they don't know. They know they're doing it.
So as an employee,
that's their way of thinking. They preserve their space or their authority. But again, all that draws from some of those things of incompetence, insecurity. So some things are even from childhood. You know, there are these things we carry from childhood. You can carry insecurity from childhood, and you come and manifest it in your adult life. You can feel incompetent from childhood. Maybe in school or at home, you are made to feel incompetent. And some people don't grow out of these things. They carry them and manifest them up to the office level. So sometimes you're seeing this person is in a high position, but the way they are behaving, you're like, well, what is wrong here? So I don't know whether to say that is also some it's character issues, some it's deliberate, because that's how they preserve themselves in their positions. But a toxic leader usually doesn't even want to change. They don't want to change. They don't want to listen to others. They don't want to listen to advice. They don't want to do anything to try and correct their themselves. You try and advise them and you're in trouble, and you become the enemy. That's a toxic leader. But a leader who is just bad without really knowing will listen and will respond to the different initiatives that will be brought about to help them improve. And they even try themselves to do self-improvement. And that is why I wrote this book. So that, because you'll see after every chapter, I have given ways. There are reflection questions, there are practical actions, that you can do, to just self-improve yourself. If you are carrying any one of those traits, for every trait, there is that. And so a good leader, not a bad leader, not so bad. Sometimes the word bad sounds so bad.
It sounds so bad.
I'd say a leader who is not measuring up. That's what I'd like to call it. May find this book very useful, because it will help them realize, even if it's insecurity disturbing them, they'll go down and wonder what is causing that security and how can they correct that insecurity.
All right, so let's jump straight to chapter 19. Yes, the traits of excellent leadership. So as much as we are telling, as much as we are seeing how not to lead, let's see what good leadership and what are the character traits of a good leader.
The character traits of a good leader, I've even highlighted them in this book. Good leaders, as I said in the beginning, they lead with clarity.
Yes.
First of all, they're very clear to their staff on what is required and what is not required. You know, clarity is everything. Even you as an employee, you need to be clear what is expected from me.
Yeah.
So they communicate well to ensure that there's clarity at every level of the people they supervise.
Yes.
And what does clarity mean? Honesty as well. Don't give wrong stories, wrong impressions, wrong reports. Yeah, just be very clear. That is one of the things. Good leadership also entails integrity. Integrity is something the world is suffering from. Lack of it, you know. So, yeah, lack of it. And you know, there are these truths of the old that we can never run away from. Yeah. What is good, and what is bad is bad.
Yeah.
There's no in between. There's no in between. So as a leader, you have to decide, will I be on the good side or will I be on the bad side? It can be costly to be on the good side, but what do you want? What legacy do you want to leave?
Yes.
That you are on the bad side? I doubt, yeah? Because I believe we are all in this world with a purpose to do good.
Yeah.
Yes. So integrity is key. And when your staff see that you're full of integrity, they will also practice integrity.
Yes.
Another one is fairness, which I talked about earlier, so I will not elaborate. But fairness comes with, it comes with the baggage.
Yeah.
It has a lot of, its children, yani. It leads to so many unnecessary things in the organization. Another one is emotional intelligence. Yeah, you need to be emotionally intelligent. There are many emotional intelligence courses going on everywhere, even on the internet. You can get them.
It is a very big buzzword at
It's
the moment.
a very big buzzword.
Yeah,
So
but
it's good.
Important.
Yeah, it's important if you can do that and just make yourself more emotionally intelligent. But good leaders are very emotionally intelligent, and that makes them easily deal with people of all kinds. They're courageous. Courage is something, I don't know whether to say it's inborn or you learn or what, but courage is necessary in leadership. Because if you don't have courage, you'll be forced to do the wrong things, or you'll find yourself doing the wrong things without being able to stand up and say, no, I cannot do this. Yeah. So you need courage. You need courage to stand for what is right and courage to reject what is wrong.
Yeah.
That is what a good leader does. And accountability. What do I mean by accountability? Hold yourself accountable. Whether things go right or wrong, don't start shifting the blame to your staff, the staff below you, because as a leader, you're ultimately responsible for what goes on. And what they deliver is a reflection on you. Yeah. So if they do wrong, I mean, and it has a serious impact on the organization, it's also sometimes a reflection on your leadership. Yes, because that means how well were you leading? Yeah, why are they growing in the negative instead of towards the positive? Yeah. And then service orientation, what you mentioned earlier. Also work, yeah. You know, there are leaders who don't work. Yeah, they just want the people around them to do all the running around, all the heavy lifting, and then they take the glory. Yeah, they come up and take the glory. And that is very demoralizing. But when your staff see you as a leader, even touching your hands, working with them, and
it is admirable.
It is admirable, and that way you also teach them. You know, that's part of mentoring. Yeah, because when you work with them, you mentor them as they work. So be service-oriented, servant leadership. Yeah, don't let it not be just about yourself.
A good leader is extremely unforgettable.
Yeah, a good leader is unforgettable. By the way, they are never forgotten.
They are never forgotten.
They are never forgotten.
You will always mention them. You know what, by the way,
I
when
used to have,
so-and-so was the leader here, things were easy. You know, they are unforgettable.
Like, you'll hear staff saying, hey, that boss was so good. Yes, and they'll say it until their grave. Yeah, so you better leave that legacy. You don't want people dying saying, hey, I had some horrible boss, you know? Yeah. Yeah, and just for your accountability to God. Yes.
All right, so Jacinta, just a random question. Have you ever found yourself, or rather when you were writing this book, is there something that you found yourself doing that now, maybe in your years of working, that you found yourself telling people not to do?
Yeah.
That you used to do?
Oh, that I used to do?
Yes. Okay,
yeah, maybe in my beginning years, I would do some, you know, micromanagement. You want to make sure everything goes right, so you are really you're on the case of every job that is going on. Yes, and then I came to realize, no, this way I'm not helping them grow. Let them do it.
Make their mistakes.
Make their mistakes. Let's go over the mistakes, correct them, and that taught me to really delegate. And delegate, not abdicate. You know, there's abdicating and delegating. Delegating, you use it very cautiously to grow your staff, to teach them, to learn them. I mean, to make them learn how to do things. Abdicating, you do nothing. You let them do everything, whether it's right or wrong. You don't support, you don't assist. And when things go wrong, again, you're on their case. Yet you did give them the necessary support. Yeah, so in my earlier years, I'm these people who like to make sure things go right. so I'd a bit, I think some of the people who would attest to it, maybe when I was my first managerial years, would say, oh God, I used to correct everything, change everything. But I learned better. I know better. Yes.
All right, so our time is up. And of course, I would like you to tell people how they can get your book. Is it in bookstores? And I feel like this book is not only important to leaders out there, even as an employee, you need to get this book.
Everybody. I'd say that because leadership is everywhere. Not only at the workplace, it's in the churches, it's in in social settings, in communities, even in the country. Yeah. So everyone, and even as staff, you're a leader in your own way, in your home. You're a leader, as a mother, as a father. If you deal with your children like this, what will happen to them? So I think this book is for everyone.
And it's also a good way of spotting, you know,
of spotting
the things and how you can deal with
it. And as a staff, you can spot, is my boss being manipulative to me, and how can I handle this? If you're emotionally intelligent, you can know how to handle it. And even probably have a discussion with your boss, and so that the working relationship, maybe if it's 2 tense, can reduce. Because I said some of the bosses do this because unknowingly, by the way, they don't realize the impact that it is having on people.
All right. So where can people get the book?
Okay, so this book can be found at Nuria bookstores, at Kibanga bookstops, which is on Corner House, 5th floor. And then it is also available on Amazon. And it can also be delivered to you if you call this number. 07 111 32 978.
Okay.
Should I repeat that?
Yes, maybe just one more time.
Just one more time. 07 111 32 978. So if you call that number, my assistant will organize for you the book to be delivered to you. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Jacinta. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yes.
And yes, this will be a very, very good read.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, it's short. It's very well written. Yes, and I think I encourage everybody to get this so that you can also spot when your leader is not doing what they are supposed to do.
Maybe one last word I'd like to just encourage leaders to read this book, and even any other person, because wherever you are leading in some way, because it will really change the way you look at things and the way you deal with people. And I'd also like to, you said it's well written, well done.
It is.
Yes, so I'd like to acknowledge my publisher, who is Rose Sally from Sally Publishing House. She was a great support in doing this book, ensuring its quality standards and all that, and in collaboration with UNISA Press. Yes. I'd like to appreciate that too. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much once again, Jacinta.
You're most welcome.
Are you planning to write another book?
Yeah. But I'll let you know. This one, it's in my head. You know, books start in the head before they get on paper. So it's still in my head. So I don't want to talk about it until I
Still
get
on
it
leadership?
out.
Or
this time I want to focus a lot on HR.
Oh, okay.
On HR, on HR.
Yes.
This one I want to look at HR, HR in depth, because as HR people, we face so many things as well. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Oh
so I want to.
I can imagine. That's a whole different
It's
conversation.
a whole different conversation.
Yes. Please come back once you write that book.
I will.
Whether it's in 1 year, 2 years,
Yes.
come back and let us know about it.
I surely
Thank
will.
you so much.
Yeah.
And we
You're
hope to
most
see you
welcome.
again.
Thank you.
I hope you have learned a few things right here with Jacinta, and you can grab yourself a copy of How Not to Lead. I promise you, you will get some very, very important nuggets. So we still have more of Entertainment Thursday coming up. Don't you go anywhere.
You promised a lifetime. You promised to get away. You promised a dream.